Hi, and welcome to another video from BHS. And we are going around the basket area to take short videos about a little bit of history that we encounter in different places. And today, obviously, we're on the water, on the Delaware River. We are on the Pennsylvania side of the river, just across from P Brook, the mouth of P Brook, where it enters in the hamlet of Long Eddy. And why are we here? Well, it's a nice day. It's a nice day to be out on a canoe, but also this point has some historic significance. There were some bridges that went across the Delaware, and we talked about some of those before, but another effective way, and maybe more numerous way of getting across the river, was by ferry. And where we are right now is one of the ferry locations in Long Eddy, one of two. In 1856, William Kelly received authorization through a New York state law to have a ferry go across the Delaware River in Long Eddy. And then 1863, a second ferry was authorized for Calvin Van Benschoten. So the town had two ferries that went across the river, and we connect Pennsylvania, predominantly farmers that would come down. They would take the ferry across, they would buy their goods in the town of Long Eddy. They'd load them up in their wagons and they'd come back and they would go back to their homes in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure which one was first, but the two locations of the ferry, one was right here at the mouth, just before the mouth of P Brook, and the other is where the current boat landing is in Long Eddy at the end of Ferry Street. Good name for it, since that's where the ferry was. If you look over here, there's this triangular piece of rock, and I'll see if I can get it a little bit closer. And this is where the ferry would hitch up to kind of secure it for loading and unloading on the Pennsylvania side. And if you can see, if I can get a little bit closer, there is a ring. It's a pig iron ring that's set in the stone. And it's been there since the 1800s. And it was an effective way to make sure that when you were loading and unloading, your ferry didn't start drifting off back to New York. How did these things work? There was no motorized ferry. It was a rather ingenious way of doing things. There were cables that ran across in the air into the woods on both sides, and then a scow, a kind of a flat raft that ran on pulleys across and ran across the cable. The ferryman would angle this square raft or scow in a way so that the force of the river, the flow of the river, would either push it towards New York, or he would change the angle and they would push it towards Pennsylvania. Kind of an ingenious way of doing it when you think about it. In just relying totally on the power of the river and the angle which he was positioning the scow. These ferries ran for quite a while, and like I said, they could fit maybe one, maybe a little, a couple people that would just want to ride along, and they would go back and forth on water power, and they would collect a toll. They would get a fee. They're up in the woods there. There's still about 20 or 30 feet of this steel cable that ran across the river. It had a lot of carbon in it apparently, and it didn't rust. But at some point, the ferries were no longer needed. the cables were cut and what was left was thrown up there in the woods. But we can see all up and down the river things like these rocks with the ferry rings, and it was kind of a common and effective way to transport things across the river. So next time you are taking your canoe or your fishing boat or your tube to the river, you'll be probably going on access sites that were originally created and to this day remain right-of-ways for access to the river made by the ferrymen. So let's give a thank you to William Kelly and Calvin Van Schotten. We'll be doing more of these videos from time to time in different places in the basket. And if you're interested, please look at our Facebook site for the Basket Historical Society. Consider maybe even joining, or if you'd like to give a donation, you certainly can do so. Thank you, and we look forward to talking to you.